Hush, baby! I want that big beefy NVIDIA 5090 graphics card. I find those triple fans, oh my, those triple fans, they just make me go wild with the.
There is a new text-to-speech model out, and if you know me, you know that I very much enjoy testing these, as oftentimes they can be quite funny. So this one is called Kyutai TTS. I'm not 100% sure on the pronunciation there, but you can kind of spell it out with me and see if that's on the mark or not quite. But this is just another text-to-speech model, and apparently based off of the GitHub right here, there is actually a speech-to-text model that they have as well. And something I noted with that, though we're not going to be testing that today, I do want to make note of this because it's interesting. It does have built-in voice activity detection, which means that when you start speaking, it will automatically start to transcribe your speech into text. Just something useful to have in terms of building conversational devices and programs and things of that sort. But for today's main dish, we are just going to be focusing on the text-to-speech variant, which was recently announced. And basically, they are pretty much hyping this up very good, saying it sets new state-of-the-art in text-to-speech. Word error rate measures how often it fails to adhere to the script. Speaker similarity is a metric of how close the generated audio sounds to the original sample when doing voice cloning. And apparently this can do English and French, as from what I see in the Hugging Face repository here, it is kind of denoted to seemingly be able to do both, which is cool. A lot of folks are definitely interested in text-to-speech models that can do things beyond English. With that, we can see a chart right here where apparently this does seemingly stack up and compare very favorably to not only open source things, but closed source as well with 11 Labs. They also mention Chatterbox, Nari, Dia, Sesame, and Orpheus, which we have looked at on the channel. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time looking at the kind of announcement page, it's more fun to just start testing it, but I do have to say this section here is quite interesting, where essentially other text-to-speech models described as streaming are only streaming the audio. You need to have the full text snippet in advance. This is saying that it can have text piped in as it is being generated by an LLM, and Kyutai TTS will start processing it, leading to ultra low latency. And obviously latency is kind of the thing to aspire to have when it comes to these conversational assistants, as if there is a gap in between you speaking to the computer and the computer speaking back, it takes away some of the lifelikeness and immersion aspect of these things. With that, they talk about voice cloning and things like that here. Now, I did see this announced in the local llama subreddit when it was released, and folks seem to have a bit of a polarizing opinion where it doesn't seem like you can freely clone voices with this. It seems that that is kind of locked behind their garden. I don't know why that terminology came to mind. So basically you can't freely voice clone. You can anonymously donate your voice in the however that would work to be cloned. So obviously, some model releases are happy to let you just clone your voice and do whatever you want, and then others are more restrictive with it. I can understand both sides of the argument, so I did just think it was prudent to kind of mention that. In terms of install documentation, there does not seem to be a lot here, and I do believe partially that is because it seems relatively simple to install. But something I will say I'm not a huge fan of here is, aside from the collab notebook example, there is no simple web interface or Gradio app in with which we can test this, which is a little frustrating, but I suppose it's pretty simple to make one. And I will note that in addition to this, they do mention MLX support, which basically means for on-device inference on iPhone and Mac. So not a lot of open source text-to-speech models support MLX or Apple natively like this, so that is pretty cool and will definitely be a positive for those of us using those devices. Now, there isn't really a easy command to go ahead and actually get this running. So what I've ended up doing is just going into the scripts right here and going down to the text-to-speech PyTorch script, and the dependencies that we actually need to have are listed right here, as well as the need for Python 3.12. So as a quick install guide, I am just going to be using Conda. I know it did mention UV as well, so I might get yelled at for not opting to use UV, but for this use case, Conda is a little easier for me. Now, with my activated Python 3.12 Conda environment, I am essentially just going to pip install all of these dependencies at the same time. I don't know how well this GPU will handle this. This is a mobile 4060. I tried doing this on a 5090 mobile, but unfortunately it does not seem like this version of Moshi will work with a version of Torch that works with the 5090 mobile. So we are back on the old reliable 4000 series. And we'll just kind of let all of these install. A lot of them will likely be cached on my system, depending on what you run, yours maybe as well. And once the dependencies outlined in this script have been successfully installed, we can then just go ahead and do a git clone on this GitHub repository. And it will put it into this egregiously named folder, which I don't feel like typing into the terminal. So we will just do a cd paste. And then once we're in there, from the script section, so we need to go to cd scripts. Actually, do we? Nope. Okay, so we don't need to be in the scripts folder. We just need to be in the base clone folder, as these kind of go ahead and do that. All right. Now, essentially what should happen right here, let me clear my terminal. If we paste this command in, it should go ahead and pull the weights from Hugging Face so that we have the model local. And then assuming that it does do that, we will then go ahead and just put together a very simple Gradio web app for this so we can test it in a aesthetically pleasing interface. Okay, nope, that is the name of the model file. All right, it's just a little weird. And it is around 3 3.75. That was just a terrible way to say a file size. It's 3.7 gigabytes that it will be downloading. Okay, and we do not have port audio found. All right, so to fix that, we need to do sudo apt install port audio 19-dev. And then hopefully that will go ahead and remedy that error. Let's go ahead and see, since we do have the model pulled. I don't know how long this will take. Okay, good. VRAM is spiking. Not enough.
Hey, how are you?
Streaming multiprocessors to use max auto tune gem mode. Okay, I don't know what that means, but it did work. It did yell at us. And the speaker is crackling a little. That's not the model. It's the computer setup. I am going to get an audio interface so I don't have to like pipe this at the same time. I do apologize for that. We'll just try this. We don't need to hear it say that again. Let's just go ahead and...
Hello, YouTube. Ha 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 ha.
All right, not bad. That definitely seemed a little more calm. All right, now because I don't want to spend the entire duration of this video playing with it through the terminal like this, as I'm sure you would not want to see. All right, so I've gone ahead and just vibe coded a very simple Gradio script for this, so that way we can actually use it in a more aesthetically pleasing manner. In addition to that, they actually have a rather robust selection of voices that you can actually pipe into this, and those are on the Hugging Face repository as well. So I did just kind of take a bunch of different ones. They actually have some interesting, like there's laughing, disgusted, sarcastic, sleepy. I haven't tested all these in this Gradio app, but they should work. So it seemingly does have a pretty wide variety of different voices you can use. So that's basically what we're going to do. Let's just go ahead and... All right, so I have to balance like entertaining myself with actually providing some level of value in terms of like assessing how well this works. So let's just do default. All right, so I've pasted in a bit of dialogue from the Great Gatsby book, the original book. I don't know how well this will do long context. Apparently in the local llama subreddit post announcing this model, they said it could handle long context fairly well. I'm not sure who posted that. So, but I just did paste in some dialogue from the Great Gatsby. I don't want to do too much because my GPU is kind of weak, but we'll just go ahead and see.
This Mr. Gatsby you spoke of is my neighbor, I began. Don't talk. I want to hear what happens. Is something happening? I inquired innocently. You mean to say you don't know? Said Miss Baker, honestly surprised. I thought everybody knew. I don't. Why?
All right, this speaker sounds like they took too many benzodiazepines. Let's just do, let's do happy, and we'll try generating that again. Apparently, it does seem like it was faster than real time there, as I do believe that generated 49 seconds of audio in around 41 seconds. And again, I am using a 4060 laptop GPU, so a mobile 4060, which is a fairly low-end mobile GPU, and OBS is using 1.6 gigabytes of video RAM just screen recording, so we're using 6 in total right now, which means that this is using around whatever 6 minus 1.6 would end up being. So really not bad.
This Mr. Gatsby you spoke of is my neighbor, I began. Don't talk. I want to hear what happens. Is something happening? I inquired innocently. You mean to say you don't know, said Miss Baker, honestly surprised. I thought everybody knew. I don't. Why? She said hesitantly. Tom's got some woman in New York. Got some woman? I repeated blankly. Miss Baker nodded. Shay might have the decency not to telephone him at dinner time. Don't you think? Almost before I had grasped her meaning, there was the flutter of a dress and the crunch of leather boots, and Tom and Daisy were back at the table. It couldn't be helped, cried Daisy with tense gaiety.
Well, the voices, the breaths were fairly interesting. Again, not bad. And I just kind of randomly selected a bunch of the different available voices in each style. So like one of laughing, one of sarcastic, one of default. Now, I would like to try laughing. We can probably bail on the Gatsby prompt, at least for the time being, as we can maybe perhaps see if we can have a little bit of fun with this now. I just want to see what the laughing, make sure it's actually like correctly laughing voice. So,
hey, what's up? Come, man, come.
Okay, so it didn't necessarily adhere to the prompt exactly. All right.
This was untrue. I am not even faintly like a rose. She was only extemporizing, but a stirring warmth flowed from her, as if her heart was trying to come out to you, concealed in one of those breathless, thrilling words. Then suddenly she threw her napkin on the table and excused herself and went into the house.
All right, I don't know that that necessarily sounds like laughing. Let's go ahead real quick and just see what specific voice that was using based off of the actual available voices. All right, so this is using, that is the actual, or one of the actual laughing voices that are available as denoted by the kind of laughing in the name of the voice. And again, there were a bunch for each of these different styles, so I just kind of pulled one of each, not knowing specifically. All right, so I suppose we will just kind of keep going. Let's try angry, and then we will just go off of the Great Gatsby style prompts.
This was untrue. I am not even faintly like a rose.
That's
she was
angry.
only extemporizing, but a stirring warmth flowed from her, as if her heart was trying to come out to you, concealed in one of those breathless, thrilling words. Then suddenly she threw her napkin on the table and excused herself and went into the house.
All right, so that's not bad at all. That was definitely in the angry style, I think. Let's see. Disgusted. That could be entertaining.
This was untrue. I am not even faintly like a rose. She was only extemporizing, but a stirring warmth flowed from her, as if her heart was trying to come out to you, concealed in one of those breathless, thrilling words. Then suddenly she threw her napkin on the table and excused herself and went into the house.
Right, it sounds like the guy's talking in like a deposition. The way he put in a random there, it's actually, that's pretty good. It did sound somewhat convincing.
Hush, baby. I want that big beefy NVIDIA 5090 graphics card. I find those triple fans, oh my, those triple fans, they just make me go wild with the fire of 1,000 beasts inside me.
All right, that was pretty good. Especially the beginning here. I wasn't expecting that. Let's have another listen, shall we?
Hush, baby. I want that big beefy NVIDIA 5090 graphics card. I find those triple fans, oh my, those triple fans, they just make me go wild with the fire of 1,000 beasts inside me.
All right, let's try fast. Okay, fast could be entertaining. I'm going to just make this bigger. We know how much VRAM it's using. It's using like 6 gigs of VRAM, so. All right.
Oh, baby, I want that big beefy NVIDIA 590 graphics card. I find those triple fans, oh my, those triple fans. They just make me go wild with the fire of 1,000 beasts inside me.
Nice. Let's see, what else do we got here? Laughing. I didn't really get any good laughter in the Gatsby prompts, so hopefully they definitely seem far more emotive in reading this just based off of what we've seen so far. So we'll see what we'll see what happens.
Oh, baby, I want that big, beefy NVIDIA 5090 graphics card. I find those triple fans, oh my, those triple fans. They just make me go wild with the fire of 1,000 beasts inside me.
All right, I want to try something with the laughing voice, which is just laughing, but we'll try it like, there's like the haha, there's the haha, but with the J's. We'll just try the two of those, just see what happens. I'm really, all right, we'll just.
H-A-H-A-H-A-H-A-J-J-J-J-J.
Computer waifu ASMR.
Yeah, I'll pass. Thanks. That was awful. That was really like sensory uncomfortable.
Computer waifu ASMR.
I mean, it did whisper. It was just not necessarily what you would think.
Hey, don't tell anyone, but I am going to go to Micro Center later and borrow a pre-built 5090 desktop.
It is. I don't know that I've heard another text-to-speech model, at least an open source one, do a whisper pretty consistently and well. It is creepy. It's not like, you may be thinking like, well, there's ASMR videos and they whisper and it's comforting and oxytocin inducing. Not this. This is this is really creepy. And it hurts. All right, I think kind of to wrap this up, because I really can't think of too much to do with this. I think I'm in like a creative lapse right now, but I just had ChatGPT generate some like normie slop office water cooler conversation. They're talking about like things tasting worse on Mondays. And we'll just try it in a few of these different voice selections here. I will say there is the whisper selection, and I may...
near the water cooler, the hum of printers and distant keyboard clacks in the background, Jake filling his cup. You ever notice how the water tastes different on Mondays?
Wow.
Or is that just my brain trying to sabotage
Sounds like
you?
Snape.
Priya laughs. Definitely your brain. Mine does the same thing with coffee. Somehow Monday coffee is more bitter, Jake. It's like the universe wants us to suffer a little before easing us into the week. Priya, exactly. So, how was your weekend? Did you end up going to that outdoor concert? Yeah, it rained halfway through, but honestly, it made it better. Everyone was just dancing in the mud by the end. Felt like a music video from the early 2000s. Priya, niece. I spent mine reorganizing the kitchen. Found a spice jar labeled, smelled like regret. That's the mystery seasoning. Adds existential flavor. Priya, perfect for Mondays. Jake, speaking of which, we have that 11 a.m. with marketing, right? Priya, yes. Let's hydrate and mentally prepare. Jake, cheers to emotional support hydration.
Truthfully, I didn't anticipate letting that run through the entire duration of that script, but that was quite well done. Let's go and see why this dropped. Okay, good. I'm going to just subject you to this, but very briefly, because I don't want to scar you.
The water cooler, the hum of printers and distant keyboard clacks. In the background, Jake filling his cup. You ever notice how the water tastes different?
This just sounds like a like discovered tapes of someone who's desire. Let's try it with desire. Yeah, the whisper is like creepy. I want to prank call someone with it and be like, I'm watching you through your window. I'm not going to do that, but yeah. So I will say the wide range of emotional variety in the available voices here, which I will actually show where I got them from once this demo portion of the video is done. It is quite decent, quite impressive, and there was a bunch of different ones as well. So these are just some random ones I picked out, but there is definitely a lot of different available option for style of voice.
Trushes near the water cooler, you know, the hum of printers and distant keyboard clacks in the background, you know, Jake filling his cup. You ever notice how the water tastes different on Mondays? Or is that just my brain trying to sabotage me? Priya laughs. Definitely your brain. Mine does the same thing with coffee. Somehow Monday coffee is more bitter Jake.
That is probably going to wrap this video up. As promised, I do want to just kind of mention where I got these additional voices from. In addition to that, I will also go ahead and just put this script up in a GitHub gist so you can copy paste this and run it yourself. Obviously, that is the wrong link that was vibe coded into there. Let's see if this was as well. Okay, yeah, it was. So let's just go ahead and try to find that manually. So in the Hugging Face for Kyutai, or I'm probably doing a poor job with that, they have a link to this voices repository, and essentially if you go here into files and versions and into Expresso, you will see that there are just a ton of different styles of voices. So we tried some fast, some whisper, etc., but there are a bunch of different styles of voices for each of those sub styles, so like angry, etc. And if you scroll down, it's just like a bunch of load more files. So there is a lot of variability and experimentability with this. So these are just things you can add in. It is fairly simple in the script to actually just kind of basically paste in the name of the one you want to add in here, and then you could go ahead and play with it. I will say it does seem to handle, I don't want to say long context, but I'll say decently lengthy context fairly well. There's a spider on my microphone, so hello. But I'm limited with my GPU, but this is running in an 8 gig video card, a relatively kind of low range video card, a 4060 mobile. It does generate speech seemingly faster than real time, and obviously there's a lot of interest here with the streaming they talk about, where it has true streaming, where it can kind of read as the LLM is generating text, which obviously wouldn't be applicable to this demo here today. But overall, it is definitely a worthy competitor to the open source space. They do have more information on the GitHub for this model and basically things like that. I didn't really get to test it with the French, as it is apparently able to do, since I don't speak French, so I wouldn't want to, I just want to kind of vibe test it in English and see how it is. So with that, that is probably going to sum up our testing of Kyutai text-to-speech. There is MLX implementation, so for those of you on Mac who want to play with something open source, or even iOS, you can go ahead and play with this. And it doesn't take up a ton of VRAM, and it does have a lot of variability in terms of the voices and things like that. So I will put this little vibe code script on GitHub for anyone who wants to run this not through the command line. And aside from that, that's probably it. So thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments.